Hi friends, this is Tina and welcome to my new video where I'll be setting up my new bullet journal theme for September. This year has already gone by so fast and I can't believe how it can already be September soon. I'm so sad that summer is ending, but at least now I can make some beautiful autumnal bullet journal themes. Before we start setting up my new theme, let's flip through my August houseplant theme that quickly became my new favorite theme. It truly motivated me to use my bullet journal, and for the first time in a long time I actually filled in my spending tracker and felt inspired to fill in my weekly spreads every day. I will link my August plan with me video in the cards and in the description down below so you can watch it if you haven't seen it already. Now let's start creating my September cover page. My theme is Rowan trees, but I definitely took some artistic freedom and just painted something similar to that tree, and the leaves are definitely different shape than in real life, so don't take this theme too seriously. First, I started with erasing the sketches a little bit so the pencil marks wouldn't show through so much when I paint on top of it with watercolor. Then I took some light green watercolor and painted the base layer for the leaves, and after I just painted the other half of the leaf darker along with the root of the leaf. I'm using Winsor and Newton Cotman watercolors for this branch, and for the leaves I mainly used sap green, Payton's grey and burnt umber. Even though I didn't use many different shades of watercolor with this, I used 3 different paints, which is a lot. Along with the watercolor I'm adding here, I used gouache and metallic pearlcolors that you will see me working with later. This part where I shaded the leaves definitely took the longest, and when I was working with the pages that had more branches, this was by far the most frustrating part, but nevertheless, I really enjoyed creating this whole theme even though it was pretty time consuming. I painted these Rowan berries with the red color and made the berries in the back darker and ones in the front lighter to create some dimension. I ended up losing some footage here when I made the berries and the branch itself, but you will see me doing that in all of the other spreads, so don't worry. I used washi tape from Mellow to make this rectangle shape behind the branch. I mixed zinc white, olive green, light yellow and brilliant violet gouache to mix this pretty yellowish green color. I think the green shade I created worked so perfectly with the shades of the branch and my craft paper I added later. I used a really small Arteza detail brush to first add the gouache in the background to define the leaf edges, so it's easier to color in the whole background with a bigger brush later. This definitely helps to make sure you don't accidentally color in the leaves with the gouache, but you definitely need a lot of patience to do this. I felt like after coloring in the background the leaves looked a bit grey, so I just took some green watercolor and added it on the leaves to add some more color on them. After the satisfying tape peel, I added some craft paper that I think tied the page together perfectly. I wanted to balance this page out by making the craft paper circled so it would complement the colored rectangle. Since I thought I hadn't already added enough elements, I also painted the borders of the background with a golden shade. I took my much used Coliro pearlcolor palette and chose the 610 Tibet gold. The color has a beautiful shine to it, but unfortunately it doesn't always show from this angle, so I have included a little close-up later so you can see it in all of its glory. The last thing I added to this page is the word September, and I wrote it with a Pigma Pen fine liner. The next spread I will be working with is my calendar spread. The calendar layout itself is very simple and it basically has all of the elements as my cover page. I painted a couple of little branches in the upper left corner of the spread first. I made the branches overlap the calendar a bit, and I think that usually makes it look more interesting. I don't think any of you watching actually followed me on Instagram back in November 2019 when I started my account and posted my first bullet journal pictures, but my theme back then actually was Rowan trees, and now it's fun to see how much progress I've made, not only with painting, but I think I've also done progress with creativity and coming up with new ideas. I had a super small following on Instagram back then, but if some of you actually followed me, then I would love to know, and also thank you for the amazing support you have given me throughout all this time. You can go check out the pictures of that theme on my Instagram feed, and my username is the same as here. Even though the themes were very similar, the styles are still different. I remember being very intimidated by watercolors, and I always drew the outlines first with a fine liner, but it's fun to see that I've grown out of that fear. Here you can see how I painted the berries, and overall I think it's best if you make sure you use some different colors or add some kind of shadows so it's not just a blob of red watercolor. I used the same Pigma P and fine liner to add little dots to all of the berries. I'm going to list all the supplies I used to create this theme, and I will also try to include all the different shades too, so go check out the description box if you want to know what products I used. Again, I just taped down an area behind the branch and the calendar to paint it with the same green gouache. It's sometimes very hard to match shades when you're not using the colors straight from the tube, so here's a little tip for you. Just paint a little swatch on a separate piece of paper with the color you want to use, and then you can just refer back to it once you're working on other spreads and test out the colors to see if they match. If you're having a very hard time, maybe filming your color mixing process could work too, so you can see and estimate how much of each color you mixed. I was able to match the colors pretty well throughout this theme by just following these tips. Again, I cut out this circular craft paper piece and glued it in the lower right corner of the spread. I also decided to use this space for a little note section because you never know if you have some extra to-dos or events that don't have a specific date to write down in your calendar. Also, it just looked very empty, so yeah. I made the boxes 6 by 6 dots and drew the horizontal lines without a ruler and made it intentionally a little messy to kind of balance out the clean look in this spread. I know the calendar doesn't look very symmetrical because I don't like writing very close to the center of the page, and that's why I left 2 dot spaces empty in both sides of the center. I painted the daily dots with a brown shade and again used the same pen to write the numbers on top. I painted the border with a golden pearl color. I also want to say, if you don't have the metallic watercolors, you can definitely use a golden gel pen or, for example, a golden acrylograph from Arteza and Olive to have a similar effect. Now on to my tracker spread. I like the fact that last month I experimented with my trackers, so I decided to do something different again this month. Tracker spread is always the hardest one for me to come up with, and I spent a long time trying out different layouts before I found this one. For some reason, this still became one of my favorite layouts this month. I'll track my habits on the left page and mood and sleep on the right one. I again painted some branches, but this time I decided to have them in the background. There's 3 branches going across the whole spread, and later, after filming my process, I actually added one more to make the spread look more full. Why I chose this theme and Rowan trees is because I always link Rowan trees with autumn because we have so many of them in Finland, and during fall they are some of the most colorful trees around. I know the green, red and gold typically are very Christmassy colors, but I think I managed to have a very autumnal vibe in this theme somehow, and I think the craft paper definitely helped. While I was googling Rowan trees, I actually found out some interesting facts about Rowan trees in Finland and in Europe, and I want to share them with you too. This also explains why we have so many of them in Finland. So in Finnish folklore, Rowan tree has been a sacred tree and it's believed to bring luck, and it was also believed that you can forecast the weather from the berries. Especially trees that grew from unique places such as from other tree trunks or from cracks of rocks were believed to be very sacred. In European folklore, the Rowan tree was a very used material to make walking sticks, and in many stories it was used to make wizards' magic wands. I just wanted to share that with you since I found it super interesting. I made small calendars for my habit trackers and I painted the background with the green gouache so I could also have some space to write the names of the habits itself. I left a space of 6 by 8 dot spaces empty so I could make the small calendar there. I again lost some footage later on, but I drew the edges of the calendar with a fine liner and then used a grey Tombow for the nosque to make the grid itself. Like in all of my spreads this month, I painted the edges of the green borders with the gold watercolor and I just really loved the look of it. I'm tracking my mood and sleep on this column tracker where I will draw lines representing my mood and hours slept. I also contemplated whether I should add a little spending tracker here where I glued the graph paper, but it just looked weird, so I decided not to. Here you can see I added the 4th branch in the bottom and also made the habit header craft paper a bit smaller since it looked too big in my opinion. I really like how this spread turned out now that it's all done. The next spread I will be working on is actually a Dutch door spread. It took surprisingly long to make the painting, so I wanted to have a Dutch door spread where I wouldn't need to paint 2 different designs. First, I started by cutting the middle page pretty much in half and also cornered the edges of the page. The first spread has a playlist page and a brain dump page where I can write anything I feel like, and on the other side of the Dutch door there's my content planner that has many different boxes for my social media trackers and planners. I made this big painting with 3 branches and a green gouache background in the left side in a way that you can see it from both sides of the Dutch door. I'm happy I made it this way so I was able to cut out some time creating these spreads. Now that I am again shading the leaves, I want to talk to you about my amazing notebook I know I've talked about in so many of my videos before. My notebook is a textured watercolor notebook called Rêverie and it's from a small French business called Mellow. I absolutely love this journal and the watercolor paper texture it has because it's so easy to blend watercolors like I did here on the leaves. I have a full review of this notebook on my channel and I will link it in the cards and in the description so you can check it out. Also, you can get 10% off if you use my code TINA10 in their website and I get a small commission from the brand too, so it's a win-win situation for both of us. All the info is listed in the description. I hope you like these themes I have done lately, but those people that have been missing my gouache landscape paintings, I think I will include those kinds of paintings in my next theme. I feel like now that I found my flow again with my bullet journaling and creating, I can do a theme with that kind of style without making it boring and without using the same layouts that I've used tens of times before. If you watched my last plan with me video, I talked about how much I enjoyed creating my August theme and I definitely had those same feelings this time. I feel like I found that same spark again that I lost for a really long time. It didn't only make me more hesitant to use my bullet journal, but it also felt like creating was a bit of a burden and something I just wanted to get done just for the sake of showing it on social media. I didn't even realize that until last month and now it feels so surreal. I believe some of you who are bullet journaling and showing pictures of it on social media can somehow relate to these feelings and not even realizing that you're not enjoying it so much. Like I said, I have loved creating lately and I had so much fun making this theme. I cut out these 5x5 craft paper squares and then glued them in the playlist page. I then glued the album covers of the songs I've listened to on top. This month I actually ended up listening to a lot of trending songs from TikTok and I feel like I'm not the only one. Like in pretty much all of the other spreads, I cut this circled craft paper piece and glued it in the corner of the right spread. I also wanted to make it look like it's continuing in the other spread, but to be honest, it ended up looking a bit weird since the content calendar in the other spread is underneath the cutout page. I always include a calendar for my content planner, and this time I wanted to make it even bigger since last month it was so filled with text. I painted the daily dots with the same golden watercolor I've used a lot this month and painted the headers for the boxes with a brown watercolor. I'm not a huge fan of the color of the headers, but I feel like I definitely needed some color here. Now let's get on to my last spread I will make in this video, and it's my first weekly spread. I'm using my most used box layout with some craft paper and lots of paintings sprinkled all over the spread. Even though I try to avoid spreads I've used a lot before, I decided to include this one because it just came to my mind immediately as a weekly spread idea. I have 6 daily boxes in total, so I combine Saturday and Sunday to get a bit more space for my paintings. Since you've seen me doing the same thing over and over again now, I decided to cut out some footage here. I'm painting the backgrounds of 2 of the branches I made and left the rest without it just to have a more airy and clean look to this spread. I still painted the golden borders to all of them and I really like how it looks. Just in case you're not following me on Instagram yet, make sure to check out my account by clicking the link in the description box so you will be able to see some close-ups of the spreads I'm creating in these videos. I'm also posting videos and pictures of my other paintings and art projects, so if you like my content here, you will definitely want to follow me there too. I'm also going to have at least one giveaway soon when I'm hitting 25,000 followers on there, so there's even more reasons to check out my account. Getting to the end of this video. I'm posting my weekly spreads video later, so definitely press the bell icon to get notifications once I'm posting again. I'm just going to quickly flip through these pages I made in this video. If you're still here, leave your favorite fall themed emoji down in the comments. Remember to subscribe and leave a thumbs up if you like this video. I hope to see you in my next one. Bye bye!